Oh. That is a very, very strong pick on the current patch. And honestly, a champion that has gone a little bit under the radar in UNL. We've seen Hawksbill play it, but that was in the jungle position. But yeah, when you consider the current meta, Olaf is by far a better top laner than he is a jungler. So especially in a matchup like this where he can just uh, ignore Sion's CC and just run him down. Sion's not exactly an early game champion. Like, he needs to play a very patient game, manage his resources well. And Olaf just has that crazy early game power that with which he can just force solo kills almost out of nothing. So we also have Lethal Tempo from Kaisa. That's fairly standard. Glacial Augment versus Guardian on the support side. So ICM here are already prepared to be on the receiving end when it comes to bot lane. I think they understand pretty well, you know, just the kind of all-in potential that Kai'Sa Nautilus has. Even level 1, they already pose a pretty serious threat, and then from level 2 onwards, it only gets worse. So you gotta make sure that you don't get surprised, don't give up any early kills. That would be very much unwanted. And while I'm saying that, no real offensive measures by either team when it comes to level 1 play. Maybe some small vision put down. But no deep vision on either side. We're just going to go to our lanes and go RA, but keep tabs on Olaf in the top lane. He is, right now, he's in that brush, in the river. Every 14 knows that this could be an option that Rack takes, so he just decides to go for a safer route. So there will be no level 1 surprise from Olaf. Every 14th also starting shield, he realizes that level 1 he has to be on his toes, but still, you just look at the trade power that Olaf has. All he has to do is land one undertow, and basically the rest of the trade follows, and it's so hard to avoid that. In a long lane like this, if your wave is not in the right spot, Olaf can just press Ghost and run you down at any moment. It's kind of like Darius, except it's even more threatening. Now we see Rakan with a flash into flash EQ from the Jarvan, and it's just an easy first blood from ICM. Wibbly attacking the bot lane just after 2 camps was red into blue. Or should I say blue into red, because he started blue. Very quick gank onto the bot lane, and that quickly sets up the pace that ICM wants to go for, but now we see an instant response from Vince on this Udyr. Pops the Ghost, goes right onto the bot lane of ICM, but it's a 3v2 situation and they're just not getting the kills. Fred now has to be the one running away, but the red buff is burning him down. He will get away, but that felt like a bit of a emotional response from Vince. I don't know if it was, but I feel like he should have considered the fact that Jarvan was still close by after making that initial play, so risk of a counter gank was very high, and that's exactly what happened. So now the bot lane is in an even better situation. As you see how the wave is positioned, it's going to push straight back to them. They will take back control of their lane very soon. they can just, yeah, go back straight to their lane. They will have this under their tower, or close to their tower. They can have it frozen. If EverSense doesn't push it fast enough, and this could mean that Wibbly visits bot lane yet again. Here he comes again. EverSense does not have it pushed fast enough, and it's Weebly without any summoners, sorry. He's getting auto-attacked to death. Will he die? Not quite. Here comes Brent with a counter gank. It's a repeat of what happened last time, but this time it's EverSense to get the kills. And it's now Bekla without his flash, because he used that to initiate. His grand entrance comes out just in time, but now Rack just about to kill February 14 from the top lane. Both teams so aggressive in these early stages of the game. So much focusing on the bot lane. And it has to be said, Friend was, yeah, he read the situation well. He could, you know, he could just go top lane, continue with his clear, but instead he was like, okay, I have to help my bot lane. This could be a gank angle for a Jarvan, and yeah, that was a good answer. And this means EverSense is in a slightly better situation than they were just a minute ago. Should still be an advantage ICM, but it does help EverSense bot lane a little bit. And they would prefer to have this bot lane be ahead in this matchup. Now Rack, without his summoners already, he's going to go for the all-in yet again. Every 14 still has his flash. He should flash the undertow, but instead he just flashes backwards. But now it's Rack who's going to be surprised by the gank from Wibbly. He's going to die eventually. The lifesteal is not going to help him survive. And Rack perhaps chooses the wrong moment to go for that kind of commitment. Right now it's Wibbly expertly punishing aggressive moves from EverSense, or just being in the right spot where the wave is about to crash and he's there to intercept. Vince was actually close by there, just finishing up his clear, but he wasn't there just in time to try and counter gank this time. When you consider what Cassiopeia can do in the late game stages, there's always a chance for EverSense to pull it back from the brink, but when I look at Xayah and how she fares versus this EverSense team, I feel like ICM just have a natural advantage going into the team fights. It's a quick meeting for Friend and Kosaka. Nothing comes out of it, though. We'll see when the first Dragon Play gets initiated. Right now, Friend doesn't feel brave enough to start that Drake, considering what's happening in the bot lane. Decides to keep clearing for now. You want to try and stay ahead of the Udyr when possible, of course. Sorry, the Jarvan. Now Wibbly's going to take his recall, or not. I guess he's just... Well, stream quality can't really tell if it's level 5 or level 6. I guess we'll know soon enough as we approach this team fight. At the first dragon, EverSense committing to this, and it looks like ICM will relent this time. He didn't have Lissandra in position yet. He didn't feel quite... Yep. He didn't feel comfortable about taking this fight, so he decided against it. Which is, you know, in their case, it's fair enough. And look at what's happening bot lane. It's again, ever since, trying to slow push this, but they're about to meet Rajarvan, who is just outside of vision. But now the initiation from ICM is a little bit uncoordinated, as now Bekla going in with his grand entrance into Battle Dance, but he has to flash away from it all. Kosatka now in a 43 situation. The CC lands on 2 members, and the mid laner was there to assist. Sometimes Wibbly's presence is not enough, and that's when Kosatka helps out so well. We've seen it over and over again from ICM. The mid jungle working together to make sure these plays work out. And that pretty much secures the lead for ICM in the bot lane. They may have conceded the dragon, but now they are in a much, much better spot to contest the next objectives. Wonder if we're going to see a rotation for Herald or something along those lines. Maybe the next Herald, because the Herald was actually already taken by Eversense. But it remains to be seen what Eversense can actually do with that one. Right now, it's Rack in a little bit of a standstill versus the Scion. Keeps eating those decimating smashes to the face. But he's keeping the wave in the right position, and here comes Frent with the gank. The Undertow is going to land. And it's W14 who has to try and use Unstoppable Onslaught, but now he's completely unable to do so as Uther stands right in front of him. So that avenue is completely blocked off, and they just get a kill. Maybe now Rack can actually get those plates down with this respawn timer. Yeah, does look like he spawned it. So that's going to be, well... Yep, that's 3 plates already. Just from that one play, so a big influx of gold for Rack. Looks like he's going to go Ravenous Hydra into Jackshaw the Protean, which is a preferred build path when you're going into these very tanky targets that take a long time to whittle down. Oh, Maxpris was looking for a play on the flank perhaps, but he's getting completely surrounded by 3 members of ICM, and that's just a free kill onto Maxpris, going the way of Bekla. Now Weebly also completely surprised by Wibbly. So ICM getting kills all over the place. They can't even punish Wibbly right here, even though he's out of position. He may be able to get away, but EQ over the wall. The depth charge is used, but it's not enough. Wibbly gets away from the scene of the crime, and pretty much everywhere he goes, he gets advantages for his team. So far, this is a textbook early game from ICM. It's exactly the kind of performance that we expected going into this game, and the form that they were in. Meanwhile, Eversense already qualified to playoffs, but what we're seeing right here does not exactly inspire confidence. So let's wait and see. The next dragon is already up. Rack is here. decided to go on foot without his TP ever since, already starting up this dragon. ICM is late to the party. They will have to approach from the left side of the river. Can they get the steal in time? No, they can't. Wibbly goes for the engage. It's the backline now in trouble for ever since. Kaisa goes down. It's ICM actually winning the fight, even though they came in late. Rack tries to get some kills back. He's still alive, actually. He's still putting out the damage. It's a little bit of a... It's not even a terrible fight for ever since, as they keep pushing out the damage somehow. They just get all these kills. The Olaf and the Udyr, it looked like a win for ICM. But somehow, the two bearded men turn the whole fight on its head. That is a dragon. That translates to tower damage, maybe even a tower takedown for Rag, but I guess he doesn't want to stay that long. Yeah, massive win for Ever Since, considering the circumstances. They took some casualties, obviously, but they have a dragon. They keep it stacking, and as we can see, when the fights are this close quarters, when ICM are this committed to the fight, there's always a chance to turn things around. Now, Kosaka may be in trouble. Bishan onto the Nautilus, but can't do all the damage alone, obviously. Now Rack, already with Ravenous Hydra completed. It doesn't look like it's going to be Jackshow with Protean, actually. Could be something else, as we see the Iron Spike Claw. Cassiopeia with a Petrifying Gaze. Doesn't stun anyone. Oh, but now Bishan in a precarious position. Gonna get stunned, but it's Ever Since that don't really have the CC to continue. Not a lot that they can fight over at this point in time, but they continue pressuring down the mid turret. Kosaka's dangerously low as he continues to defend this. But what can ICM really do? I guess they scare off Ever Since for now, but now Maxpris, without his flash, without the help of his team, he's just going to fall. Ever Since leave him alone in the mid lane. And Wibbly finds just the right moment in time to attack. And they get a pretty important kill to stifle the momentum of Ever Since. Because now we see Rack once again going into the Scion, and we see just how tough this matchup gets. The Scion pretty much unable to respond with how ahead this Olaf is. The Conqueror able to be stacked so easily. That's another Herald charge which breaks down mid-tier 1. And with all those things happening around the map, Ever Since, their situation looks a lot better, but it has to be said that their bot lane is still struggling heavily. And they need Kaisa to hit those item breakpoints. Now Rack, he may be in trouble. He will pop Ghost. That will be a signal for ICM to break the chase. We'll see what the next course of action is for Friend here on this Udyr. If he rushed Black Cleaver, when you consider that he's maxing Q, it feels like a very efficient first item for a build like this. And what follows next could be Jackshow the Protean or Radiant Virtue. I imagine it's going to be Jackshow, it feels like, for a champion like this. Jackshow is just so efficient. And against a team composition like this, where you know the fights will not be that short. there's definitely potential to sustain through it all, as now Wonjay with a flash depth charge onto Bishan, but he's so mobile. It's so hard to pin him down, and those are two pretty important cooldowns for Ever Since as we approach the third dragon of the game. Now they won't have this initiation. Well, look what's happening in the backline, though, as Rack just goes in on... completely in on Bekla, just completely decimates the AD carry. He will only get one kill from the situation. But now, Ever Since, they are on the attack once again, and the Petrifying Gaze stuns free. It's just a complete rout right now for ICM. They only get one kill out of the situation. The Flashless Nautilus is all they're going to get. It's February 14th right now, trying to salvage something out of it all, but it's Ever Since who wipe the floor with ICM. And they are certainly proving me wrong right now. They are winning these fights. They're being proactive, making the right moves. We're already at Dragon Soul, even at before 20-minute mark hits. Or maybe just as it hits. Like, I'm... please apologize. I have to apologize. Like, I'm seeing a lot of pixels. Discord streaming is... you know, you're on it, I suppose. It's not perfect, but I'm doing what I can. Yeah, even though the bot lane is still considerably behind compared to ICM's bot lane, they're making it work because Rack and Friend are such a big presence inside of this game. Now I guess we're seeing just what can happen when Rack is out of Middle League prison. But yeah, jokes aside, we see Ever Since initiating once again. ICM with the counter engage, but it's Bekla once again in trouble. Kite back. Now ICM with the counter engage, but we see the backline is just not hitting at all. As Ever Since, they're getting the kills once more. The Xayah zoned out of the fight completely, which means ICM just does not have the firepower whatsoever to continue fighting, and it's straight onto the Baron for Ever Since. They're just going to take this down. ICM will not contest this. They just go for a mid lane push. But they will get interrupted there as well. It's just nothing. No wins for ICM to be found. Completely choked out on this map right now. And Ever Since continue on the offensive. Friend and Rack playing so confident in these fights. And also Maxris with some clutch petrifying gazes in these fights recently. It feels like this could be the engagement ICM are looking for, but it's not quite enough damage onto the backline from Bekla right now. They only get one kill. Can they get any more? Wibbly goes for the engage once again, but Shirelia's popped. Now, the quickness into the grand entrance. What exactly can they get? Bishan does not quite get the initiation he wanted. He dies for it. But right now it's still a 2-for-1 trade. Masquerade goes for the Petrifying Gaze, but he's so low right now he has to retreat. Pretty good situation for ICM. They stop the Baron push from happening. They will get the mid lane turret, so there's definitely something to be happy about for the team. The objective bounty pops as well, so that buys them a whole lot of time. And eventually you have to feel like these big beefy frontliners on Ever Since, they will eventually hit a point where they just stop scaling compared to the Xayah. I guess we haven't hit that point yet, which is why Ever Since feels so overbearing with the Olaf and the Udyr, but if ICM can hold the line long enough, and Bekla can put out the damage that his team requires him to, there's always a chance for ICM to turn things around, but right now, this Cloud Soul is definitely something that they have to worry about. The Cloud Soul is often regarded as one of the worst, but when you consider the front line and how they benefit from all those movement speed bonuses, it could still get pretty ugly for ICM if Ever Since do get this Dragon Soul. So it is still something that they have to worry about. But now Rack is going to get ambushed by 3 members of ICM, sorry. Olaf decides to fight back because of course he does. But it is just going to be a pretty good fight for ICM by the looks of things. Ever Since tried to counter-engage, but Kais is just completely alone in this fight. They overextend for it. When they're so far away from the dragon, they just completely disregard the objective. And ICM will stop the Dragon Soul from happening. Are we going to see the same? Are we seeing the same? I feel like we're seeing a rerun. We're seeing a rerun of the same things. I'm losing, I feel like I'm losing the plot here because I'm getting a little bit frustrated by Ever Since and how they choose to play the game. It's always just one step too far, and that is followed by another step too far, and then another one. And, you know, before you know it, the game is lost. When it was pretty much... They were pretty much in the driver's seat, so... You may have a very fed Udyr, but you still have to choose your fights carefully. Because now we see Wonjay potentially getting picked off by Wibbly. He will have the follow-up from his team soon enough. Wonjay does not have flash, nowhere to go. The Decimating Smash will just pick him off. And ICM have quickly reclaimed control of the map just like that. They don't even need Baron, they will just push it straight down mid. It's Olaf still in the side lane. As Ever Since are trying to defend with 3 members only, but Wibbly quickly spots the situation. The initiation is perfect. They will get 1 kill back, but it's still ICM with a big win in this fight. Rack does not pull the trigger on the teleport. We were constantly fighting with a numbers disadvantage, and ICM just pulls the trigger immediately. They will lose the inhibitor for it. Once again, it looked like Ever Since we're about to close the door on this game. But then, I don't know, I'm running out of analogies. I guess we just stepped on a Lego brick randomly and, yeah, not quite what we wanted to see. It's not the first time Ever Since have squandered leads that they built up with a lot of effort. Especially from Friend in the jungle here, who's having a great game still, so far. Feels like he's been the most valuable player on the team, but right now ICM have brought it back as Baron is already spawned, ready to be taken by either team. ICM will just continue to push. Weebly gets away with his ultimate. Maybe this is a time for Ever Since to re-engage. Look at the flank from Olaf as he goes straight onto the backline. There's not enough peel from ICM. It's Ever Since winning the fight right now. It's a 2-for-1. The Petrifying Gaze onto the backline stuns everyone. Ever Since are finally getting the fight they wanted. They will lose 2, but they will win the fight outright. Max Crisp with a sick Cassiopeia ult straight onto Baron Nashor. And the game swings again. Ever Since. It's always this team. Always producing bangers. Whether they like it or not, they just produce them. So, here we are. still a chance for them to be 6-6 in the standings and potentially maybe even overtake teams like E4, depending on what happens in the next game. NACL are also 6-6 after today's results. So now, ever since with the Baron, what they can do with it. As I finally... Wow. I can see clearly. Discord stream... What happened? It just happened randomly. I can see stuff clearly now, as Wibbly is about to engage on the Nautilus once again, who's without his flash still. That's going to be a quick pick. Now, ever since, they have to reconsider what they want to do with this fight. As another dragon is about to spawn, and Eris is once again looking at a gray screen. That's their big initiation gone, and I don't think they want this fight as it stands. Rack will use the Blast Cone. They're kind of fighting, but not really. Right now they're just kind of attacking the Scion. But ICM also kind of reluctant to go back in. Now they go onto the back line. But it's Rack once again attacking Max Crisp and Lysandra, buying so much time for the team. But now Bekla finally unloads with the feathers. And it's a balanced fight right now. But once again, Max Crisp kills off Azaya. And just barely ever since gets the win. ICM get the dragon, but I guess ever since has the satisfaction of winning that fight just barely. But still, it's the super minions that we have to worry about in the base. Still so close between the two. Yeah, so much, like we said, so much of it is on Bekla's shoulders in these fights. When it comes to ICM, Bazaya is pretty much most of their damage. Lysandra, mostly going for utility, has the healing reduction, has Bazania's Hourglass, so not a lot of raw damage in there. It's just Xayah with the ridiculous damage from the feathers. So ICM has to make sure that they keep their primary carry alive. That's interesting. Looks like Friend is going to build what can only be Sunfire Cape as his last item in the game. I don't know how I feel about that one, but I guess we'll just ignore it for now. Still, he's capable of doing absurd amounts of damage if he gets onto the backline, so yeah, that Blade of the Ruin King and Black Cleaver is certainly more than enough to completely shred anyone he fights against. Weebly finally has that free item spike. He's working towards Last Whisper item as well, by the looks of things. The Bruisers are still very strong for Ever Since, but we're starting to reach that point where Xayah is so strong. Has the Bloodthirster shield as well. It will get harder and harder for Ever Since to find fights that favor them. As now, not a lot of action is happening. 1 minute until Baron, minute and 30 seconds until Dragon. Can Ever Since actually secure Dragon Soul this time, or will they put more priority on the Baron? Maybe they use the threat of a Dragon Soul to force out something else. Right now it's Rack in the top lane. As we see Rack getting completely ambushed by all 5 members of ICM. And once again will be punished for greedy play. What is Friend doing? Clearing out that ward. He almost got cut out, but he's still right now in a pretty bad situation as ICM continue to go in, and the Feathers land and completely cut through ever since. Right now, Kaisa is trying to help Udyr with dishing out the damage, but everyone else is dead for ever since. And Olaf dying so quickly means it's once again ICM with the teamfight win, and potentially even the game. As they already have the minion wave prepped up, and it's more than 30 minutes into this game. The death timers are long enough. The inhibitor's gone. They want to push for the end. And ever since, can they stop the Nexus from exploding is the question. Right now, Rack is, you know, it's a 2v5 situation, maybe a 2v4. As he goes back in with a Ragnarok, he kills off Xayah. Importantly enough, the magic damage shield is going to block off so much damage. He's full health now. He's back to full health. What is going on? You still have Ragnarok up. Oh my god, Rack. He comes back just in time, and this game is not over. ICM have overestimated their abilities. We're still going. Yeah, what the F is Olaf? I'm wondering that myself. I did mention how strong this champion feels on the current patch, and Rack is giving us a good example of what the champion can do at full power. Because now Wibbly's going to get zoned off. It will just be ever since finally securing the Dragon Soul, so they secure the soul. It's a big win for the team. Maybe this turns fights in their favor finally with the added movement speed bonuses. They can turn onto the backline that much quicker. But now it's ICM with the immediate response. They just try to burst this Baron immediately. Ever since, still walking out of their base. They can't interrupt this. Maybe it's Friend who actually gets initiated on, but okay, ICM will not go for it. They just want to burst down the Baron, which is the right call. Now they go for the fight. It's Friend and Masper trying to do stuff. Featherstorm put out really early by Bekla. Let's hope it doesn't bite him back here. As February 14th now completely assaulted by all 5 members of Ever Since. Rack continues to go in. But Ragnarok is already out of the question. He continues to chase though. No more kills will happen. The top lane is pushing. But the mid lane wave is not prepped. Ever Since have to do a quick 180 to try and fix that. Yeah, it really feels like ICM are so dependent on the Xayah to win the fights for them. Meanwhile, Ever Since, they may have the Bruisers that eventually just get kited to hell and back by the Xayah, but they do have the double threat. They're starting to... the Kai'Sa's starting to ramp up slowly but surely, and Max Crisp is also just putting out so much damage. If he just gets to free hit with between Twin Fangs onto anyone on their team. Such a tense spot for both teams to be in. One thing's for sure, Ever Since never make it easy for themselves. Absolutely. Absolutely not. It's always about the spectacle. As Juan J is about to get picked off yet again, pops his Zanya's Hourglass, but he's still zoned off. And, I don't know what we're doing in that spot, to be perfectly honest with you, as now ICM has the numbers advantage. They will just push it down mid with a Baron. But the question is, can they actually end it? It's just midway that's pushing. So ever since, all they have to do is just hold out. And I really feel like it's possible. As long as Max Prisp can do what he's doing right now, putting out the damage, as the front line is buying time, they still have not CC'd down the Max Prisp Cassiopeia, as now Wibbly goes in. Kosaka with a perfect Frozen Tomb. They lock down the backline, and that is all over. Ever since have made one mistake too many again, and they lose to ICM